listeners. Today's format's going to be a little bit different. So it's hectic with the summertime, but in a great way because we're all kind of on vacation and doing stuff, but it just makes scheduling this hobby a little bit tougher. But we did owe you a rating on the league from our last episode about Star Wars, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, and we didn't want to fall behind on the Suikoden 2 this episode review either. So I, unfortunately, couldn't make it for the second time to talk with Tom. So you're going to hear Dan and Steve's conversation that was recorded separately from this one when they talk to Tom. And then I'll be back for the host review portion because I did play a good amount of this game. So I will see you then.
We're a retro video gaming podcast where two guys recruit a bunch of strangers. And this is episode number 48, our 18th league episode. We're your hosts. I'm Steve.
And I'm back again. I'm Dan.
And today we have Tom with us again. Tom was with us for our Final Fantasy XI episode last year. Say hi to everybody, Tom.
Hey everybody, good to be back. Fun fact, this is actually exactly 11 months after we recorded the Final Fantasy XI episode.
Wow, crazy.
11 months, Final Fantasy XI, great times.
Hell yeah.
But we're not talking about Final Fantasy XI today. We're talking about Suikoden 2. So, get ready to upload data from us to you. But first, let's set the mood. I want you to think about your favorite book series. Something with magic, dragons, and all kinds of mystical elements. Maybe you think of Lord of the Rings, or maybe something like Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, or Narnia. Think about a series that is beloved to you. And whenever you pick up those pages, you're transported to a new world. One of the best ways to escape and become enthralled in the pages. When we were kids growing up, Konami was a huge name in all of game development. They had massive hits. Things like Castlevania, Contra, Metal Gear, Rocket Knight, Dance Dance Revolution, Silent Hill. All the genres, all the boxes checked. One of the other boxes that a lot of people don't know about, though, comes in the form of Konami released the Suikoden games. These games are heavy in hard-hitting storylines and character development, with a backseat on difficulty for game mechanics. They're almost akin to the masterfully crafted stories that you would find in a wonderful book. Perfect for a first-timer in the realm of JRPGs. This is exactly the huge draw that a game and JRPGs would have for younger gamers. Today, we're talking about Suikoden 2.
This is a good one.
Yeah, I played the first one a fair amount, so it was kind of cool coming back to this and seeing some of the older characters a few years later.
I actually bought the one on Steam, like the definitive edition, and I actually played and beat through the first one. I didn't actually get to finish the second one because I kind of wanted to do it in order. But the first one was pretty good. So I want to talk about the second one.
Yeah, I'm glad you did dive into the first one beforehand, because these games are really helped out by playing them in order, because a lot of series you can do them in any order and you're good to go. But all 5 of the Suikoden games take place in the same world. They have recurring characters. The places they take place in are mentioned in the prior games.
Right.
That's some good information for newcomers to the series.
Yeah. It reminds me of like the Anything Trails.
Yeah.
Those series, because they're pretty much one after another, and you can get kind of confused if you like go out of order.
Well, before we jump too deep into it, Dan, do we have a question of the week?
We do. So, question of the week this week is, what is your favorite JRPG? Who wants to kick us off? Guess first, right? You
Guests
want to?
first, Tom.
All right. Well, this is actually a really difficult decision for me. I have played so many
Yeah.
fantastic JRPGs over the years. You got your classics like Chrono Trigger, or you got Suikoden 2, which is actually one of my favorite. And to this day, you've got amazing games coming out. Like earlier this year, you had Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I don't know if I'd place it as my absolute favorite, but it's definitely in my top 5 now.
Yeah.
So I can't really name one, but I could give you a list of a bunch that I loved.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
fair.
I'm kind of in the same boat, honestly. I don't have like a definitive favorite. So, I mean, well, how about this? Could you name a top 5, you think?
I could give you 5.
Or a top 3 or whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be like in order, just
Right, I'm not sure about order, but if I were to pick a top 5 in no specific order, I would go with Chrono Trigger, Suikoden 2, Final Fantasy XI, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and I'm trying to decide between Final Fantasy 7 and 9 for the 5th slot, because those are really close for me.
yeah. No Persona games. I know you were like really into those too.
I like them, but they don't quite make it into the top 5.
Fair enough. Yeah. Steve, what do you got?
So, as far as JRPGs go, I'd probably have to say that my favorite is Final Fantasy IX. It was so impactful to me at such an age in which, like, I was just starting to get into that realm of gaming. So that's probably my favorite. But I do love Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, and I enjoyed Bravely Default for a long time until it started to loop. They went and ruined
Oh
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of old school. Like it paid like homage to the old school Final Fantasy games.
Yeah. And I have a fond spot for Chrono Cross, even though I don't consider it one of the greatest. It's still just one of my favorites to just pick up and play.
It is a really good game.
How about you, Dan?
Yeah. Like you guys, I don't have a favorite, but like this I can name off a few.
Mega Man X Command Mission.
I was thinking of that, like as a joke answer. Like it's not really that great, but like one of my favorite series of all time is Mega Man X, and
Yeah.
putting it into a JRPG, it's like what's not to love? But like
Then they need to give you a Star Fox RPG.
But the problem is, it's very very average at best. So, but I'm gonna say Dragon Quest 8 and 11. I think
Yeah.
they're fantastic RPGs. They're a little bit on the old school, like they're kind of like bare bones, and they don't have like crazy mechanics. But if you're just looking for something nice and simple, those will scratch the itch definitely. Then you got, like you guys said, Chrono Trigger's a no-brainer. I think it's like one of the best JRPGs of all time. Final Fantasy XI's up there. I played that a bunch as a kid. I sunk a bunch of hours into it. Kind of a newer series I've beginning to appreciate is the Yakuza,
Yeah.
JRPGs, like a dragon. Those are really fun. I just like the world in that, and it's like more like serious and like real life type stuff almost, but it has a lot of comedic value like added into the game as well.
Oh god, maybe I want to put one of them in my top 5.
Yeah, they're really good. They're so ridiculous at times, which makes it awesome. And then Tom, you mentioned this one too. It's like a newer one that came out this year. Is Clair Obscur. I started playing that. It's fantastic. I've been playing other games too, so like I haven't been like playing it nonstop, but like yeah, I could see like it being like in my top 5 eventually as well.
Nobody picked an action JRPG though, like Tales or Star Ocean.
Yeah.
Clair Obscur is close.
Yeah. Clair Obscur is like a mix, like how I like to put it is like a mix between like Paper Mario and Legend of Dragoon.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
because I really, really like Paper Mario, and I think Legend of Dragoon had some really good legs, but fell short for me personally. But I think it had a really good idea.
Right.
Yeah, when I picked that game up, Clay Obscure, I could not put it down.
You're making me want to play it, but it's just my time. I just don't have time.
Yeah, I hear you, brother.
Well,
that's all I got.
yeah, we don't have any community answers because this one was just kind of off the cuff and it wasn't asked in Discord. But you know what that means. Everybody in the Discord, you need to start sending us questions of the week.
Yeah, or you could comment on any of our platforms, to let us know what your favorite JRPG is.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I want to know everybody's.
Yeah, I would be excited. I would answer all the questions that we got. So, we're always here to answer.
Well, without further ado, you boys want to get into talking about Suikoden 2?
Let's do it.
Alright, everybody, this is the part of the show where we kind of go over a basic overview of the game, and we let the guest take this part. And Tom, you can talk about anything you would like to talk about, whether it's a, personal reason that you picked the game or anything like that. But give everybody listening at home or in their car or wherever they are a little overview about Suikoden 2.
Okay, so Suikoden 2 and the entire Suikoden series as a whole in general, they are a story about generally speaking, they're a story about a young person rising up to fight back against a tyrannical empire or something like that. In each case, the protagonist picks up what is known as a true rune, which is... So basically the games have runes that grant magic. The true runes are these primordial forces that all the runes of the world descended from. They are strongly linked to people's personal destinies, and anyone who bears one goes on to make a large mark on the world.
Which is why Luca Blight is such an ass.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Well, we can't solely blame the rune for that one, although it probably has a large part to do with it. He probably was a bastard before.
There's actually external reason. I don't think it's not really listed too much in the game. It's more in side material that they go into why Luca Blight is such a bastard. I can kind of understand why he's such a broken douchebag. So I actually want to drop this one. So when he was a child, there was another war between the Highland Kingdom and Joustin, which they do mention some in the game. Your main character's adoptive grandfather, Genkaku, was a hero in the previous war. But during that war, Luca, his mother and his father had to evacuate the castle, and their carriage was accosted by Joustin soldiers. Soldiers did what they do to captive women, and 9 months later, Luca had a little sister, and he was forced to watch. So yeah, he's kind of broken.
You must find that out way later in the story, huh?
I want to say it's revealed in one of the Suikoden in visual novels.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I don't remember hearing about that.
Yeah, no, it doesn't go into detail of that in the game, but in Suikoden.
Gotcha. I didn't realize there was a bunch of extra material.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a manga, there's the Suikoden games, which aren't directly related, but the main series to take place in the same world and whatnot, and they do go into some stuff.
I do know that Yoshitaka Murayama, he really was drawing a large inspiration for Suikoden on his pitch, based on a lot of the manga that he had been reading, where there's tons of characters. And he was also reading a bunch on the Chinese mythology literature and stuff, and drawing huge amounts of inspiration from that. So when you said that they have mangas, it makes sense.
Yeah, I know Suikoden 2 and 3 do, but I believe there's one for each game.
It's pretty neat.
As well. Yeah.
Yeah, so these games are like incredibly story driven. Like Final Fantasy games are story driven, but I feel like Suikoden leans even heavier than the Square Enix games on the story because these games are not incredibly difficult, and it makes it really easy for people to just pick up and enjoy as like their first JRPG pretty much. But it's so story interwoven, and that it does set itself apart a little bit from that era in when put in competition with some of the other choices on the PlayStation.
Yeah. And then you can't even forget the fact of like just the sheer number of like characters you can get and like how like each one just like ties into the story itself. It's just like a stat where you get like what, like 108 characters that you can recruit on your team or something ridiculous like that.
It's actually a story beat where each game has, counting the main protagonist, 8 characters known as the Stars of Destiny, and they're people who are destined to fight alongside the a leader in his quest to whatever he ends up doing.
Yeah, I think generally it is to overthrow tyrannical government.
Yeah, those are the ones in the story that not every true rune bearer is a Revolutionary War hero, though.
Okay. So, in the beginning of this game, you start off as your main silent protagonist, and his name's, Ryu?
Rio, yeah.
And he's in an encampment with his childhood friend Joey. It's like a youth camp, right? Like it's a youth training camp?
Yeah, it's a youth brigade,
Right.
basically. Yeah.
And you end up getting ambushed and traitored by your captain, and he's working with the evil prince Luca Blight, and they murder everybody, but you and your friend Joey decide not to do that, and instead you jump off a cliff and you get washed up on shore.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the beginning of the game, and you've already experienced betrayal and
Yeah.
war.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna say that, like, can we just like appreciate like right when you get into the game, like just like it hooks you like almost right away.
Yeah, this game just hits the gas the moment the game starts, pretty much.
Which is awesome because like a lot of JRPGs, you got a lot of like fluff in the beginning that you have to slog through before it gets like really interesting.
Yeah.
This game is like interesting the first 2 minutes right when you start playing.
yeah, like I'm thinking, like, how long do you have to wait in, like, in some of the other games? I'm thinking like Chrono Trigger. How long do you have to wait till you actually get to fight something worth anything?
Persona. There for like 5 hours reading before you get to fight something.
So eventually you wash up on shore and you get rescued by the a resistance force, basically, and they hold you captive. You do some chores and stuff. But it was kind of neat because you got to see like Flick and Victor from the first game,
Right.
and
Or as I affectionately know them as Flichter.
and it was just such a cool, like, harken back to the first game, like almost immediately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anybody playing the first or the second one after coming from the first one, they're like, oh, these guys, they look even more grown up, and
Right.
and it's really great for returning players.
Yeah, that's how I felt because I played the first one. So like when I got captured by them and I knew it was Flichter, I was like, I know they have me captive, but these boys are gonna take care of me. I know it.
These are
Yeah.
good guys. They're not going to brutalize me.
Yeah.
And then after you get the traveling brother and sisters, and you go to the forest trying to go back to home, I was not expecting there to be such like a heavy sexual innuendo right there. Like, it caught me completely off guard. She wanted to talk to the captain alone.
Arena and our adult conversations.
And then the funny part is, after you come back to your character, if you talk to the other guy, he goes, but why only the captain?
That's great.
And I was expecting a mist dragon because of Final Fantasy IV,
Yeah.
I don't know. This game had a lot of charm, and like they do such a good job with the dialogue, even though the translation was really rough. Playing on the original PlayStation version. Dan, you played on the remastered?
Yes, yep.
Did you notice anything in the translations? They probably cleaned it up.
I think they have. Like, at
Yeah,
least I didn't know anything. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I bought the remastered version, and it definitely retranslated. It cleaned up. The old one did suffer from the classic PlayStation era translation issues.
Yeah, like most games did back then, unfortunately.
Like Final Fantasy VII is classic. This guy are sick.
So one of the cool things for me was how they end up splitting up Ryu and Joey, because Joey picks the dark sword rune and Ryu picks the light shield rune, and it ends up influencing the characters in a way that they grow apart and they both start forming their own ideologies on how to save the country. It almost reminds me of the Ramza Delita
Right, yeah.
arc.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, I haven't beat the game, but doesn't Joey try to, like, take out Luca Blight from, like, inside the ranks? Pretty
Yeah.
much.
I don't know how far you are, but
I just named the castle, so, like, that's probably not far at all, but, like, there is a lot, like, before that, too.
yeah. Okay, if you're still playing through it, so I don't want to spoil some of the major plot points
No,
for you.
you can spoil it. I mean, like we all say on this podcast, it's it's 20 plus years old, so
Fair enough.
you can go ahead.
Yeah, because there's actually a point later in the game where Joey has risen up to a prominent point in the Highland Army as a general alongside the others, and there's a plan where Luca Blight is going to lead a surprise attack against your army, but Joey warns you, so you can ambush Luca.
Yeah, and you end up getting the old high ground on him.
Yeah. Oh my god, that scene is so amazing.
Yeah, I was reading about it, and almost, I'm not going to say unanimously, but like almost everybody's favorite scene, like all the people that have played all the Suikoden games, like everybody's favorite scene is the death of Luca Blight.
Yeah, I could imagine, just because of how much of a douche he is in the game.
It's more how much it takes to bring him down.
Yeah, it's like tons of arrows and swords and all that.
Okay, so I'm going to lay this out. All right. So first off, you ambush his army while he's coming in on your castle. You ambush his army, you set him retreating into a forest. In the forest, you ambush him with 3 teams of your elite fighters, all trained up, all powered up, all with their weapons sharpened. They kick him down the road. He still manages to escape from 18 guys because it's
Right.
6-man party, and he makes it to the cliffside where your strategist has hung a wooden amulet on a tree, and it's glowing, so it catches Luca's attention. He picks it up, he opens it up, and some fireflies fly out. That is used as a trigger to launch a volley of arrows at him.
Wow.
And then after that, you still have to duel him with your leader.
Yeah, after all that battle damage. And it's, I mean, I guess if you're over leveled, I don't know how easy the fight is, but like, even still, like, after
It's
all
a sharp
yeah.
increase in difficulty, actually.
But
it's to give it gravitas, you know?
Yeah.
And to top it off, the duel itself, he starts at 20%, about 20% HP. You're probably at full because you've been able to use healing items since your last battle, and he can hit you for half of your health in that duel in one hit.
Which is crazy because he's already like almost dead at that point.
Right. And that's if you're leveled up, if you're equipped well and whatnot.
Well, he's got the beastly rune, right? The one that like increases animalistic urges and like savagery. Yeah. So
yeah.
So I'm curious, like after you like destroy Luca Blight and all that, like, you know, your friend Joey, he doesn't like just come back to like everything's all hunky dory, right?
Nope. He thinks he knows. the right way to heal the country, and you can't betray all of your new friends.
So you are now going to war against King Joey.
Yep, and the sweet poetry of it all. You end up back at the rock right in the beginning of the game, where they both slash their sword and say, "If we get lost, this is where we'll meet up." And you have a final duel, and the ending that changes based on if you have a certain amount or all 108 stars.
All 108, yeah. 108, yeah.
Really beautiful storytelling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tom, do you want to talk a little bit about the battle system?
So it starts off looking like your standard turn-based RPG battle. But the row system actually matters in this one more than back row takes half damage and deals half physical damage. Because each character has a weapon reach. They're short, medium, and long. Short reach can only hit the front enemy row from your front row. Medium reach can hit the front row from the front or back row. And long reach can hit anyone from anywhere. And in addition to that, there is also something in this game called a Unite attack.
Dude, Joey and Ryu's Unite attack is just so nice in the beginning.
Oh, dude, tell me about it. I was so sad when he left. When Joey left, I was like, no, dude. Like the one with his sister just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, that one will carry you through the early game. It absolutely will. So how the Unite attacks work, though, is generally speaking, if two or more characters have some sort of close bond, like Ryo and Joey are childhood friends, Ryo and Nanami are siblings.
Flicker. Dude, I can't remember the name, but the archer and his dog, that dog is like, especially early game, is OP as hell, dude. His stack growth is insane.
Yeah, the animals are really good early on because they don't have weapons, so all of their power is front loaded in their actual stats. Whereas regular characters, you have to go to the blacksmith, you have to sharpen your weapon. This blacksmith sucks, so he can only bring your weapon up to level 2.
Right. I'd imagine, I don't know, but like I'd imagine like the animals eventually would fall behind because like you would get like all this like OP equipment and stuff, but like, damn, are they strong in the beginning? Like really strong.
Yeah, they definitely do fall off in the late game because, the weapon sharpening will catch up, and the big point is that they tend to have very few, if any, rune slots.
Yeah, that is true. But like I was going through the game and like anytime they would like attack the dog or the wolf or whatever it was, like it would do like no damage.
Yeah.
It was just like a tank pretty much.
I don't need armor.
I am armor. And the other thing, Tom, can you explain runes to people?
Yeah, absolutely. So each character can get between 1 and 3 rune slots. And runes, they give you a number of effects. Some of them give more passive effects like basic stat increases. Others will... Then there's the elemental runes that will grant different types of magic. Like you get the lightning rune that grants lightning magic. Water rune will grant primarily supportive healing type magic. Fire rune tends to do more area of effect damage spells. And finally, you also have certain runes that can only be equipped on people who use a certain weapon type. Like archers can get a rune that allows them to deal, I think, half damage to the entire enemy party.
So your attack hits everything, but it's half damage?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember seeing that rune.
So anything more than 3, you're doing more damage.
Yeah. Yeah, two-handed swords get one that I think deals double damage but can't crit.
No, who needs it? Double damage is great.
Yeah.
Consistent damage.
Yeah. Yeah, so the runes kind of let you... It's almost like a materia in a way. They let you like change the way your characters play. But
Right.
also, like, you can carry them over to new characters, right? So, like, if you get a
Yeah.
new character out of the 108, not only will they level up very quickly because it doesn't ruin with shared EXP on new characters, but being able to use the runes from the person you replaced helps kind of reintegrate this new person into your party a lot easier.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, you can equip and unequip runes freely, just like accessories and whatnot.
And that kind of ties into like the how you level up in this game too, where it's like if you want to try out somebody new, you don't have to like sit there for hours trying to grind somebody up. You know, like like the leveling is, you level absurdly fast if the character's under leveled, which is nice. So you can get them up to speed really quickly.
Yeah, yeah, the game has a fantastic EXP scaling system where, like Dan was saying, the further lower level a character is than the enemies you're killing, the more EXP they get, to the point where, oh, you're 20 levels behind, here's 6 levels on your first fight.
Right.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Yeah, because you almost kind of need it, because with like 108 characters, and if you really want to experiment with a lot of characters, you don't want to sit there and like level a character, for a couple hours just to get them up to like
Yeah.
where your main team is. So it's great. Like, and they even started this from the first game, so
One of the things,
they knew their stuff back then.
yeah, well, it is definitely good foresight on them. What I was
Yeah.
going to say is one of the things that they added in this game that they didn't have in the first game, I don't think, was a character that you could recruit in your castle that will give you hints on where to find other members of the 108.
Oh no, that was absolutely in the original.
In the first one too, I forgot, but it's really helpful because
Yeah.
with how many characters there are, it's like it's so easy to miss some, and some are permanently missable. If you miss the part in the story and whatever.
I almost feel like that's inevitable if it's like your first time playing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you're not looking at a guide. There's like
Yeah,
almost no
because
way.
some of them have these really random recruitment requirements as well. Like Suikoden 2, if you want to recruit a guy to build a bath in your castle, you need to go to one town, buy an item called a fried taco,
Oh, that makes perfect sense. What are you talking about?
bring it back to him, eat it in front of him so you get the toasty status, and then try to recruit him. Because he will only join you if you have the toasty status, and the fried taco is the only item in the game that will give you that.
crazy.
Sounds pretty easy to me. I'm surprised no one got that. No, that is crazy.
The other two things that I wanted to bring up are they have duels, which is like a rock, paper, scissors type mechanic.
Yeah.
And then they have large scale battles, which is similar, but not exactly like Fire Emblem. It's like your regular units can only move one, and then your mounted units can only move 2 spaces. And
Yeah,
like,
it's definitely a dumbed down version.
yeah, and you can't even lose.
Right.
Like, you just wait it out.
Someone who's not like like who played these games back in the day, and maybe it's a hot take, I don't know, but I didn't really enjoy like the large scale battles. I didn't think they were that intuitive and all that fun, in my opinion.
I think the biggest problem with the war battles in Suikoden 2 is that they are far too RNG based. Because you'll sit there, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I saw something in some time back where people actually dove into the code and looked at the chances of damaging enemies in the war battles, and the stats of the units do make a difference, but even with a large gap, you're still reliant on RNG. It's still very swingy.
Well, it can be war.
Right, but
yeah, in a game, you kind of want some. I don't know. I prefer my game with like static. Like, I prefer chess over like tactic style games. There's percentages to miss and all that. Like, I prefer like the accuracy. So I understand.
Yeah.
And then they got like duels, like we were talking about, where it's like rock paper scissors, and it's generally like they're only one-on-ones, obviously, because it's a duel.
Yeah.
But you usually fight those at the end of a large scale battle, right?
Yeah,
Usually.
that's a common place to
Yep.
fight them. There's a few that are just kind of there in the story for one reason or another that
Right.
aren't after a war battle and whatnot, but
Yeah, there's one duel. I mean, this is from the first one, but I kind of want to say it is that monk guy where I think his name's like Pan or something.
yeah.
And he's like a permanently recruited character as long as you win that fight.
Yeah.
So if you die, you lose him forever.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I really liked that character too. And he ended up dying on my save on the first game, and I was like, oh, no, dude. Yeah, I don't know if the second one has like any characters like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
Is there anything else that anybody wants to add in? Do we want to talk about the music a little bit, or
I mean, I like the music. I don't think it's as catchy or as quite as memorable as, say, Uematsu stuff with the Final Fantasy series, but I don't have any problems with the music. It fits.
yeah? Well, I do want to say that Miki Higashino,
Yep.
she did an incredible job at incorporating so many different kinds of music. Like you can
Yeah.
kind of tell that it's an Uematsu song, but she brings all kinds of different like Celtic sounds, Arabian sounds, you know, all kinds of different music sounds from different cultures because of how many locations in the game.
Yeah.
And a normal Final Fantasy game will have like maybe 60 tracks. Does anybody want to guess how many tracks that this game has?
Jeez, you said 60 for Final Fantasy.
Yeah, like roughly.
I'm gonna say 90.
I'm gonna just to go with the theme. I'm gonna say 108.
That was close. It is 105 tracks.
Wow, that's crazy. That's a lot of songs in one
All right,
game.
actually, you know what? I lied. This game does have a really catchy track, Gothic Necklord. That is an amazing boss theme.
We'll have to put it in the bumper. Well, I think we've talked enough about the regular parts of Suikoden 2. Unfortunately for everybody listening, though, we are going to have to rate this when Dawn comes back. And we might actually rate it in time to add it to this episode. But if not, all of you guys are going to have to hold on tight until we do. That includes
Absolutely.
you, Tom. Sorry.
Do I get to weigh in on my rating?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
okay. This is usually what Don would say is like, where do you think this game would land on the league?
So, honestly, I think quality-wise, this could be a great ball game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just not sure it's well known enough to be voted over the other great ball games.
Right. So do you know like our tiers and whatnot, like Master Ball, Ultra Ball, Great Ball, Pokeball, and Apricorn? Do you know that? Do you know the
I
tiers
could
or no?
use a refresher.
All right. So it's basically how I'll say it. You got Master Ball's like the top tier, then Ultra Ball's like the tier under that, and then Great Ball, Pokeball, and then Apricorn. I'm just wondering, like, if you had your own personal tier list, where would you throw Suikoden 2?
Well, given that I'm going to call it, personally, I would place it in a Master Ball tier, but I am also pretty biased.
Well, absolutely. That's totally valid. I've heard that from a lot of people that this game is S tier, so I wouldn't be mad with that placement at all.
Yeah, so what'll happen is we will place it in a tier, and then at the end of the year, we have everybody on Discord vote on the placement inside of those tiers. So that's kind of how it works, the overall voting and placement. So we'll get them tiered, and then within the tiers, the community will decide.
Yeah, which game is best in that particular tier.
Gotcha.
So it's like, it's not just, Steve, Dan, and Don stealing the show. Like the actual viewers will be able to, or listeners will be able to actually pick which game in those tiers will actually get the reward. So it should be fun when it's done.
Yeah. Personally, I would call it a Master Ball game, but I wouldn't argue if y'all feel it's more of an Ultra Ball game.
Yeah, I think it'll do well, honestly. When all the games are done too, like we'll might do a little bit of finagling around in the tiers.
Yeah.
Like it'll basically be a final draft after we do the finagling, and then we'll throw it to the audience. But I don't really see this game, personally, I don't really see this game doing much lower than Ultra Ball. But, I could see Master Ball, but I would think, again, I really don't know, but it's one of those two tiers, I think.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, thanks so much for coming on and sharing Suikoden 2 with us and everybody here at the Cable Club. If you have any final thoughts or anything left that you'd like to say, now would be the time.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. I love coming on here and chatting with you guys about games from our childhood and whatnot. And as for final thoughts, honestly, I just strongly encourage all of our listeners to give this game a shot, give this series a shot. It fell off for a long time with the 5th game on the PS2. But Konami has just recently announced that they're finally bringing the series back with a new Suikoden Starleap, which is an oddly named choice, but I'm looking forward to that.
So it's not a numbered one. It's just called Suikoden Starleap.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure why they went with that name, but
who knows? I mean, anyone who's like a hardcore fan is probably really excited. So
yeah,
this
is one of my favorite RPG series of all time. So I'm super happy to see it come back.
Yeah, they also have like an indie game too that's kind of close to this, isn't there?
Yeah, Iheart Chronicle.
Right. Yeah. How is that?
I enjoyed it. I don't think it quite met the same level as Suikoden because I felt the story was weaker and it's a lot more lighthearted than despite still wanting to tell a story of war.
I gotcha.
So it's kind of like super lighthearted tone doesn't quite fit it as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Those dark, gritty stories, man, they're always the greatest in my opinion. They get you hooked.
Yeah.
All right, Tom. Hopefully we'll have you on again another time. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, absolutely.
11 more months, guys.
So if you're still here and you're still listening, you must like what you hear. So that means you should leave a like or tell us, comment on us. Tell us if we suck. Tell us if we're great, whatever it is. The other thing we really like is if you have any opinion at all about the game that we either did play or that we're going to play next, go ahead and send us an email. We'd love to include your thoughts no matter what they are on the show. Or you could consider joining our Discord also, which would let you, pal around with the other people in there and also hang out with us firsthand. And, who knows, if we become friends, you could end up on the show yourself participating in our league. Good stuff. And then finally, if you are a listener every week and you have not done so yet, please go over to whatever rating and review system is on the podcast platform of your choice and leave us a kind but fair rating or review. It really helps us out. I don't claim to understand these algorithm thingies, but they do love it when you do stuff like that. And more importantly, I think we all love it, right, guys?
Oh, we do. We love the interaction.
I love it.
And without further ado, let's talk about our review of Suikoden 2.
Get in there.
All right. So we don't repeat ourselves too much. This game, for me, has a stellar story with stellar characters. Luca Blight steals the show.
Yeah, he's an amazing villain.
If you think Kefka is a good villain, it's because you don't know nothing about that Luca Blight.
So, I just want to point out that the villain is generally, I would say it's almost 50% of a good story. Your story is only as good as your villain.
Yeah, I would agree.
And it's not just the backstory that makes Luca who he is. It's the beginning of the game. I don't know if you guys felt this way, but the beginning of the game I felt like was a mad scramble to try to get away. From the minute you're betrayed and, you're going to be political fodder and get killed on that cliff top to just running and watching them sack every town that you pass through.
They capture you and they're just torturing you and they're like, when the sun goes down, you're dead. And, it's just, you feel the whole time, you feel like you're under pressure.
Right. And the entire story with Jowie is such a big twist too.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, like it gave me such good like Ramza Delita vibes. It's just such a good trope, you know?
I hadn't made that connection, but
Yeah, no,
you're right.
it does. Yeah, the fact that like the reason why I like Jowie too is because it's like he tries to like win the war by going into the ranks and getting at Luca Blight that way, which honestly in my opinion, was an awesome idea. But then obviously, Luca Blight gets slain and whatnot, and then obviously Rio and Joey have different views, so like they don't end up like reconvening.
I don't know the mechanism that changes Jowie. If I had to criticize the story at all, they don't really tell us exactly when he
It's the
flips.
rune. He gets the shadow blade or whatever it is, and you get the light shield.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
but
it has an impact on the way that you interact with the world. Like it changes you, which is why Luca Blight is so animalistic and brutal because he was near like the beast rune or whatever.
well, he also has a terrible past that I think
yeah,
maybe could make any
Well,
of us
yeah,
into
yeah.
a
just a
warlord.
smidge.
I'm saying is like if you spend time in close proximity with these like ultimate runes or whatever, the 26 of them, it'll change your personality traits or enhance the ones that are related to that rune. So that's why Joey goes on his path and you go on your path. Like it influences the way that you the way that you interact with your world.
So this is the only time I've ever played this game, and you make a lot of choices throughout the storyline. And I thought I just got the Bright Shield rune by happenstance. Like I thought you could make choices where it would give you the black sword
Oh
rune
yeah, yeah.
instead.
Nope.
This is one of those games where they give you the illusion of choice, but you don't actually get one.
There's so many of them.
Yeah.
So I know there's a couple that do different things. You can make it so Jowie doesn't come back to your party for that blip in that I forget which city it is, the one where he murders the mayor. If you don't wait for him outside the wall, my understanding is he won't come back after he gets captured by the soldiers.
Oh, really? So what you're saying is if you just like rest at the end without actually waiting for him? Because that's what I did. I waited for him. So I didn't. I thought that was a scripted event. I didn't know you could like change that.
I used the guide, and that's what the guide said. Are you guys able to verify that?
I don't know. I thought that's what you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
Nice. We're all good people here.
We took the shield of light, so
That and at the very start of the game, the commander I think tells you to go east, like leave the camp, go east.
Yeah.
And I ignored him and went west, and that's when the thing on the cliff started, and that's when it was revealed the commander was working with Luca. Did either of you guys go east and get something else?
Yeah. I went east. I think. Yeah. But it just tells you that we're under attack and whatnot, and then you have to run back and like basically tell your captain. But then you hear him like eavesdropping. You end up eavesdropping on him while he's talking to like his like other subordinates, and then you find out that like wait a minute, this isn't right. And then obviously I think the story basically becomes the same whether at that point if you went east or west, because yeah, you do have to run back after you go east.
See, I thought maybe there was a chance that if you went east, you would just leave and you wouldn't know about the coup until a later
No.
stage of the game.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. But yeah, no, you basically stuff's going down and you're like, oh crap, we got to alert the captain. So that's what you do.
I mean, this is a PS RPG. By the time we got here, they were reaching a whole nother level of sophistication than what we saw on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
this is actually late, not late, but kind of late PS1. I think it came out after Final Fantasy VII, but they chose to stay with the pixel art, and I'm glad they did because Final Fantasy VII's graphics don't really hold up. But
No.
this game, I think the pixel art was the right choice.
Yeah, I agree. And just like I think I've said this before, but like I love how it just throws you into the action, like right when you press start, pretty much. Like you know how like RPGs are, like they just sometimes you're playing for like an hour before anything interesting happens.
Yeah.
This one you get thrown right into the thick of it, like 2 minutes after you start playing. It's great.
Yeah, I'd say generally the music's pretty good and well varied, so I liked that about it. And the pixel art obviously holds up extremely well today. Um, The battles are a little bit boring, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
Ring. Wow.
Yeah.
You would think with 108 characters that there'd be a little bit more of a compelling battle system. First of all, there's not just one battle system in this game. There's not just two battle systems in this game. There's at least 3 that I know of battle systems in this game. Maybe 4 if you count the dice game. That's terrible.
I didn't play any of it.
Just some lore here. I'm a Yahtzee hater. I
What?
don't like
Some
dice
Dawn
games.
lore.
I don't like D&D because it's a dice game. I don't like,
Really? But you like card games though. That's kind of got an RMG element to it.
Oh, definitely, but less than dice. Feels less bad. Like I'll be playing D&D and I have a character who's knowledgeable, talking about the very subject matter in which they are knowledgeable, have a high enough intelligence stat, and because I roll like a 2, it's like, oh, guess what? You just don't get to solve the problem at all. It's like, great, I love dice.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like, especially like for D&D, like when you roll a 1, it's called like a critical fail. So it's like even just like swinging your sword, as easy as that. You can't do it if you roll like a critical fail.
And the scenario could be like your character's solving a Rubik's cube, like you're not in danger and you critical fail, and what your character just shorts out and slips into a coma. Like what's
that
the
usually
problem?
Doesn't happen. Usually, if your character is really good at something, you have a lot of extra modifiers to that roll. So if you had a +7 and you roll a 2, now it's a 9, which is generally enough to solve the regular stuff. So like,
fair enough.
Maybe
if you're not
have jerk dungeon masters, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really play D&D, but I know Baldur's Gate 3 did similar stuff to what you just said there, Steve.
Yeah, you have modifiers to help your bad rolls and to make your good rolls even better. So
yeah, makes sense.
Like, I think you're just playing with the wrong people. There's nothing wrong with D&D, and it's not really a dice game. It's a social game.
I have famously bad luck, and I have a threshold when I start to get ticked off. And dice get me there a lot faster than card games. That's really the short answer.
See, Don, he doesn't accept his good rolls. He only ever dwells on his bad rolls. That's not fair, Don.
I don't get good rolls.
That's not true.
That's everyday life, though. Everybody remembers the bad mistakes that you do. They never remember you doing the good things.
We're the Cable Club. We're now a philosophy podcast. Bad news sells. Always has. So back to Suikoden. That dice game is so terrible. I lost so much money the second time I went to go recruit a character that way. He cleaned me out to the tune of 55 potch.
You're supposed to save the game, do the dice game, and reset the game.
Listen. I was so furious that I had to look it up. I was like, is this rigged? Is this a joke? Like, is this part of the test? Because every character you recruit has something. Most of them has something about them that you're supposed to do or do right or talk to this person or get that. I thought maybe this guy's rigged. Because
must spend 100,000 gold before he'll actually let you win.
Because I already went through it with the private eye guy. You know that guy? Yeah. Did you guys use a guide?
I don't think I touched a guide at all.
All right, so the private eye guy is when I broke, and I was like, all right, that's it, using a guide. Because I don't know how many times I'm going to play this game in my life, but I want all the companions. So I lost 12 coin flips in a row, and I'm like, what is happening here? I was like, this can't be right. So I went and looked it up, and, there's this cryptic thing you're supposed to do, go to the bar, talk to an NPC that's not a descript character, whatever, fine. So, I look it up. Sure enough, the dice game is not rigged. I'm just that bad. And by the way, you lose the gold in 3,000 increments unless you're me and you roll 1, 2, 3 several times in a row and lose triple the amount over and over again.
Ugh.
It was so bad I had to leave town and go kill squirrels for money.
That's because you weren't adequately saving.
Well, I started to save after, but still.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we all save after that.
Listen,
anyway, if
you were about to walk into a casino but you could save in real life and reload, wouldn't you?
Oh, you would remember real quick.
Before a big poker tournament or something?
Yeah.
Write down some notes.
Exactly. We like to save on the Cable Club, Don.
We've all had our problems.
Oh, yeah.
All of
Just
us,
my Final Fantasy VI dilemma.
Yeah.
But that's autosave. It wasn't.
I should have been saving.
On track. So they have the war battles, which is like gimpy Fire Emblem.
Yeah, I in my opinion, that was by far the weakest part of the game.
Yeah.
Okay, so before recording this part of the episode, I went and looked at what you guys had talked to Tom about, and because I was thinking to myself, this is a 2025 remaster that I'm playing. How do they not explain how this system works? The answer is there is no explanation.
Well, they kind of explain it, but it's not very good. They don't do a very good job at it, in my opinion.
It's like so RNG, but they bother telling you the stats.
It
It's
feels
as bad as
more
the
like
dice game.
it feels a lot more like a story-driven event than it does an actual like strategical battle, though. So, like, it doesn't really super duper matter, right? Like, how many times did you guys fail a war?
If it doesn't
Yeah.
matter, don't make me do it. I did fail one. Well, I didn't really fail one, but there's a guy you can recruit, one of the mercenary generals.
Yeah.
Again, this is me using the guide, and he died on me like twice. You have to injure him, then take him out, basically. Because once he gets injured, he changes sides, which is brilliant, right? He's got half his platoon left, then he changes sides, then the other side murders him. You have to be the one to either protect him or murder him, because then he leaves. And
Wow.
then he comes back to your castle later. But if he dies there, that's it. He's missable. You won't get
Yeah.
108 stars.
Yeah, and as good as like this game is, like, I don't like the fact that like if you don't use a guide, you're probably gonna miss a fair amount of people to recruit. It's gonna happen.
Well, this is 108. They're basically the golden bananas of this game.
And I've played the first one like before this one. I actually beat the first one, and I didn't use a guide or like barely at all. And yeah, I've missed a bunch of characters. It just doesn't feel good for like if you just want a one and done a game. It's just,
Yeah, I kind of wish it was like a Chrono Cross. Did either of you guys play Chrono Cross?
no.
I have not yet.
So in Chrono Cross, you play through the game normally, and then they have New Game Plus, and you keep your characters. And there's like, I don't know, there's like 50 or 60, maybe even 70 characters in Chrono Cross. But you get to like keep your characters on a New Game Plus. So that when you go through, you can, because sometimes you have to play the game 3 times to get everybody in that one. Because there's like diverging paths of storyline where you get one person, like you'll get some character or you get his dad. Like, it's one or the other. So when you replay on New Game Plus, you keep them. It would be really nice if this game had a feature like that where you could go back and replay and keep your character, your 108 stars, or whoever, if you got 50, you got to keep them. And then,
Yeah.
so that way, like, you can always go back and do it. RPGs with missables that aren't New Game Pluses is a fairly big turnoff for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially because I think in this case it's tied to the best ending.
Yeah.
Yep. So basically, you have to play with a guide if you want to get the best ending. Unless you replayed this game like 100 of times and you just found every nook and cranny and was able to get everybody, but chances are you're not going to be able to do it on your own.
No, I mean, they have a character that tells you kind of like rough idea, like, hints, but you get him later than some of the missable characters. So it's like, that's kind of poor implementation.
The squirrels. The effing squirrels. Did you guys get the squirrels?
I think I got one. I think there's a missable one, like right in the beginning of the game too, I think.
He's not missable. You can encounter him later. But I spent
is it?
4 hours trying to hunt down one of the squirrels, and I was like, you know what? It's 103 stars now. I don't care about any of these squirrels. And like, there's tons of information online. I think people are just delusional. Like, I don't think they actually know, because like, you look at one guide, they're like, you got to travel between here and here with a spot open in your party, and they might show up. Okay, fine. Somebody's like, think it works better if there's 2 spots open in your party. Another person's like, nah, you have to go completely alone. That's what works best. And then there's another guy that's like, circle around these 3 pixels right here. I tried it all.
Yeah.
None of that works. This is malarkey.
Yeah, you saw a lot of that on like GameFAQs back in the 90s where people had like their own like little rituals that you would do to think that would help with certain things.
There's this spot in Viridian Forest in Pokemon Yellow that I swear to God, in my mind, the Pikachu drop rate is only there.
Oh, bottom left?
That like no, it's bottom left.
Yeah, bottom left.
But like along the thin edge of those forests, once you get in the fat grass, you're in Metapod City, okay? But you got to be on that like nice thin edge. That's the sweet spot to find the Pikachus. Pidgeotto
Yeah, I
on
always
the
went
other
bottom
side.
left to get me a Pikachu. I swear, there are certain grass patches that did have different encounter rates.
I would swear up and down, but every credible source online, including data miners, tells me I'm wrong.
Really?
But
It feels like that.
I would swear up and down, just like Steve.
Yeah.
That.
Interesting.
And I'm ritualistic about it. If I ever go back and play that game, I still hunt those patches for Pikachu. But
Yeah, Pikachu ain't great. Just get yourself Zapdos.
There was another one in the Pokemon games where it's like you hold down B when you're trying to catch a Pokemon. I remember that was one of them.
Yeah, mine was B and up at the same time, just because.
And I didn't hate the battle system. I thought the battle system was fine. I just wish it was more detailed about the things going on. Like sometimes my character, Nanami, is that her name?
Yeah,
the sister.
Yeah,
the sister. Yep.
She would just haul off and attack 3 different people sometimes, and sometimes my characters would counterattack.
That could be your runes, right?
No, it isn't.
Yeah, I actually noticed that too. It might be a hidden mechanic.
It just happens. It'd be nice to know what stat drives that, so I could at least pick from my 108 characters.
Yeah, I think it's like a certain.
Those results.
I really don't know, but I think it's like a certain scenario has to happen. Like maybe if she crit kills an enemy, she'll go and hit another one. I don't know what it is, but it's something like that.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, though, like the game is fairly easy enough to where it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to be easy. Like it was produced as an easy game for people to just enjoy the story more so. It was a vehicle for the story, not totally for the gameplay. Like the ability to explore the world and talk to all these NPCs and, craft the world was the main focus of the development team. And like you feel it when the battles are happening where, it starts getting repetitive and boring. But once you get out of the battles and you're back into the world, that's the best part. And so like it has a lot of merits and it has a fair amount of like, you kind of have to be dedicated to play through it for the story because, the battles being most or probably about a third of the gameplay, it can drag on.
Well, I will say, like, it kind of reminds me of like Dragon Quest as far as like, random battles go. Like it's just very samey, where it's just like every character feels kind of the same. They have like the same abilities. Like they might just be named different. But at least with this game, it's not so grindy. So it's like, even though like it's like the same kind of stuff with the battles, at least if you want to like level up certain characters, it's very fast to do so. Whether like with Dragon Quest, you gotta sit there and grind. So that is a quality of life change that this game does have, in my opinion.
It is nice. You can take a party of randos out that you've never taken out just to try and see what they're about. Be disappointed that they're not different from the last party of randos that you took out, but nonetheless, you can at least try.
Yeah, I mean, I guess where like it gets kind of different is like the unite attacks, where like like what I would try to do is I would at least try to make a party where every character synergized with at least one character in the party. So I felt like they just were more versatile that way, where it's like, well, they can either cast magic or attack, or they could do a unite attack.
I liked unite. I wish there was more of it, or maybe it was somehow relationship dependent. If you carried the same characters for so long, maybe they would learn unite attacks with it. Maybe I'm asking too much of the PS1 era, but it felt like an underutilized system to me.
Yeah.
It is cool that it's there.
Right.
This game does have a lot of cool stuff. I know I'm ragging on it a little bit, and I'm just grumpy. The overall world I thought was really neat. It's very reminiscent of ancient China, and I can verify that. So 108 stars comes from this ancient Chinese, not ancient, a particular Chinese novel from back in the day, the Qin Dynasty, I think. I don't know that much about Chinese history, so if you know, just tell us in the comments. But the legend goes that there's 108 demons who were banished by an elder god and eventually repented in hell and get reincarnated every so often as the 108 heroes who are there to fight the powers of corruption and tyranny. That's the actual real world novel myth. And that's where this concept of the 108 and Suikoden come from. And I would imagine have to do with those runes.
Yeah. So
And actually, the same myth makes mention of Elder Runes. I don't think it talks about the Bright Shield rune specifically, or any of the ones that are mentioned here. Actually, I know it does mention the Beast rune. That's Luca's rune. So the myth actually does mention the Beast rune, but in the myth there's, I think, 36 or 34 runes or something like that. It's very neat.
So in the first game, I can't remember if this is in the second game, but like when you're on the world map, eventually, like if you just walk as far as you can go, like you'll run into like a great wall, and it like encases like the whole world. So I wonder if that's supposed to be like the Great Wall of China, if it's supposed to be based off of China, because like I thought that was a little weird, because it was like, why is this like whole world encased in like this barrier wall? And it does look like the Great Wall, actually, now that I think about it.
I do think the setting is meant to be Chinese, or at the very least not Japan. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, the main developer, producer, he was really into Chinese literature and mythology and stuff like that, especially during the time that he was tasked with making this game. So he drew heavy inspiration from that. So it makes sense.
Yeah,
it definitely shows. I think as far as the reviews go, I think that's really what I have to say. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add. I don't want to recap. I really wish I was here for that part of the conversation. I don't want to recap everything you guys went through, but
yeah, I've pretty much said my piece in the last segment, and then whatever I did in this one.
All right, so for the first time in a long while, are you guys ready to open up the league?
Let's do it.
So this is the part of the show that we've all been waiting for a few weeks now, because we haven't put a game to work in a while, folks, just because of these schedules. And we've got two for you tonight.
Two-bagger.
Who wants to tell our audience who might be with us for the first time how this works?
Steve?
Sure. So what we do here is we decide to place the game that we just reviewed. In this case, it'll be two of them, because we didn't do X-Wing versus TIE Fighter on that week, into a tier. So right now we have Ultra Ball, Great Ball, Pokeball, and Apricorn. But it's not the traditional tier list style. We just drop it in, and things may shift down and things may shift up depending on where we put it. There'll be 5 games in each tier, and at the end of the year, our audience gets to vote in the order in which the games should be placed within their tiers. So we aren't the end-all be-all, but we will give a good general placement for the games.
And the winner in each cup gets one of our awesome golden cartridges or one of the cool title belts. If you haven't seen those yet, you can join our Discord. There's pictures of them over there.
Yeah, they're awesome looking.
Or you can check out our backlog episodes. On one of those episodes, we do actually show them, so they're pretty awesome. I think they're all great.
They are. And
we'll have 5 of these things by the end of the year. We'll have played 25 games, and we'll kind of put them into, hopefully, fair arenas. Kind of like fighting weights, wouldn't you guys say? We got your lightweights, got your heavyweights, got your wheelchairs,
Yep.
All right, so I think that we should go in order. So I think we should start with Star Wars. And Steve and I talked about it pretty extensively with Chris. For me, I'm just going to go first for Star Wars. I think it is a game that, if you're really into it, it's probably a must play. Star Wars games are all really good, but this one is kind of a cut above and takes you into the Star Wars, a part of Star Wars that I think people forget. That original trilogy was so magical back in the 70s, and then 20 years later in the 90s. Part of it was that space travel, that space fighting flight stuff, right? And there's a lot of that in that original trilogy. And I think modern day, looking at Star Wars as a body of work, it's easy to forget the dogfights that happened with those early movies and just focus really on lightsaber battles and Jedi lore and all that stuff. And I think all that stuff is great. But this game hits all the Star Wars notes. It's got voice acting, and it's from 1993. And it's not bad voice acting like Resident Evil voice acting. It's pretty good voice acting. And it's got all of the music. but for me, it's niche. It's incredibly niche, and furthermore, it's hard to get going. It's really hard to get on your computer and get it going. I found it to be darn near impossible to play co-op, and I think that was the vision for this game. So for me, I'm going to put X-Wing versus TIE Fighter in Apricorn tier.
Yeah. Unfortunately for me, I was on vacation when we had this game up. When I did try to play it, I had a lot of problems just trying to get it to work. And then when I did get it to work, I was like doing like the tutorials and stuff. And a lot of the time it just like kept crashing on me. So I didn't really get much further than that, but I'm before the week ends, I'm gonna try and give it like a nice honest effort. So when we do like a revision, that I can give it a more fair score. But as for now, I'm gonna throw an Apricorn, and it might not stay there because I do want to give this game an honest try.
For me, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter is a really cool, novel idea. It exactly what Don said. Like the whole entire part of this is bringing light to the other side of Star Wars, not just the Jedi that the movies portray mostly of. It had a lot of cool missions, and unfortunately for it, the best part of this game is multiplayer, and getting it to work is just a nightmare. So going back to it now, it unfortunately doesn't hit the mark for me, especially because they have Star Wars Squadron now for the PS4 and PC, and it looks gorgeous, and it does the same things, but better. So for me, it's not a huge replay factor, and just the difficulty of getting it to go is just going to have to fall into Apricorn for me.
Yeah, it's just one of those old school like PC games. Unfortunately, it just didn't age well with the technology upgrades.
That's not my problem with it. It could just be that I'm not familiar with flight sims. This could have been this was my first adult experience with it. There's so many controls and so many things you can be doing, so many things you can micro and skills you can be developing. I actually think gameplay wise, this holds up very, very well.
Yeah.
I just, I think for the effort you have to put in, you have to be really into it. And part of the way I grade these things is, could I recommend, how many people could I recommend this game to? That's kind of how I make my decision in 2025. And I think with X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, I think that number is actually kind of low.
Yeah. Fair point. Okay,
so
well,
that means it landed in Apricorn. That means we got a job to do, boys.
Yep. We got 6 in there now.
Yeah, so what's going to happen now is we have to bump something up to Pokeball, which is going to bump something up to Great Ball, which is going to bump something up to Ultra Ball. So this is really best case scenario. Or worst case, depending on how you guys feel about it. But my 2 games to go up, and I think this is going to shock you guys.
Oh, let's hear it.
Number 1, and I'm not just saying this because he was on a recent episode, for me, might be JJ Squawkers.
What?
And before, yeah, I know.
No, dude.
But I played the crap out of that game. I know we really flogged it, but I got to the point where I was beating that thing in like 16 minutes on a lunch break, trying to get better at it, trying to not die. I did play it even after I beat it. I just kept going back to it.
I still remember the theme song, to this day. It's a catchy theme song.
Yeah.
From JJ Squawkers.
So that's my number 1. And my number 2 is really close between Gold and Silver and ActRaiser, but I think it's Pokemon Gold and Silver. I have a much deeper connection to that game. There's a lot more going on with it. I'd be interested to see if my feeling on it changes if I played like the new ActRaiser remake that we saw on Steam.
Oh, yeah. I still got to get in on that. That actually looks pretty good.
But I think as far as the Super Nintendo game goes, while I do think ActRaiser is kind of cool, especially, for an out-of-the-box title, I do think it's got to be Pokemon Gold and Silver that goes up for me between JJ Squawkers and Pokemon Gold and Silver.
Fair enough. Yeah, for me, the 2 games that I would pick is definitely going to be number 1 is Pokemon Gold and Silver. Just one of those childhood favorites. I still like it to this day. And then I think, yeah, it's probably ActRaiser. I was kind of looking at the NWO Revenge, that wrestling game. But I think ActRaiser slightly edges out.
Well, my number 2 is NWO, so just so you know, I had a blast. But my number 1 is definitely Gold and Silver. That game, despite all of the heartfelt the heartfelt, things that we had that were negative about it, it is deserving of more than Apricorn tier. It is a great step in the right direction for Pokemon, an important leap, and as good as that series is, it owes a lot to Gold and Silver. So that one is my pick to move up as well.
Before we move it up, I just want to ask Dan. So Dan, if you couldn't pick your own game, what would your last pick be?
It would have been NWO and ActRaiser.
Okay, interesting. All right.
Well, ActRaiser first, and then NWO.
Yeah, I feel like we screwed around long enough and clowned on Gold and Silver.
Yeah, come on.
I mean, it is probably the best sequel ever made. So
let's keep the train going. It's gonna jump Pokeball tier now too. Let's go.
Dan's banking on that momentum.
It's got wheels now.
Right. So the next game that is going to go up, I'm not going to go first this time. One of you two go. From the Pokeball tier, by the way.
All right. Do you have your 2 games, Steve? I think I need to think about this.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So my number 1 is obviously my pick for game of the league, because Donkey Kong Country 2 has such a unique level design for almost every level. It has such great atmosphere, and it has some of the best video game music of all time. It is one of the greatest platformers of all time. And that's my wheelhouse. And it's the only platformer in Pokeball tier, so it's my number 1. My number 2 is probably Diablo 2 for the multiplayer experience. The ability to play with your friends and play different classes and team up and follow different skill trees, and just like the replayability on that game is insanely high. I think that it's worth going back to today, and it's worth going back to, frequently. Unfortunately, it has the problem of a better sequel than it, but out of all of the games there, those are the 2 that I think are probably the best.
And if you could not pick your own game, what would your third be?
Honestly, probably Legend of Dragoon. I did give it some harsh words, but I think that out of all of the games, that is number 3 for me.
I like that, our tastes are marinating. Like we've had some time, like we were, we've been down on JJ Squawkers for a while, but like looking back, I'm like, I played the crap out of that game.
Yeah.
Would I tell someone else to play it in 2025? Yeah, probably. If I knew that they had exhausted all the other options, I'd be like, hey, take 10 minutes and play this bonkers platformer. You'll never see anything like it.
Yeah. I just wish there was easier ways to play it.
I mean, it was easy enough. You got to go to a shady website and make sure your malware protection is up to date. But other than that, I think for me, here's my problem with Donkey Kong. And I love Donkey Kong 64. Donkey Kong as a franchise has been so poorly positioned throughout history that it's kind of a crime. I think we like Donkey Kong Country 2 now. Because I think now it's recognized for how awesome it really is. Back in the day, there were so many platformers, and it was amongst a sea of other platformers, maybe arguably better platformers. I know there's a good amount of people out there that feel it's the best platformer ever. I played it, I beat it, I 100%ed it. I don't feel the pull to go back to it. I don't think I can leave Diablo in the Pokeball tier. I know it has its rough around the edges parts, but it has an extreme influence in just gaming in general, and it is a massive game for when it came out. And I think Diablo's got to be my number 1 pick, and then my number 2 pick is probably Donkey Kong Country 2. But number one has to be Diablo for me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like unanimously it's going to be Diablo 2. Like that's going to be my first pick as well. I just enjoy that type of game. I mean, I know at times it can be grindy, but like I just like the sheer amount of stuff that you can do. Like you can play different characters. There's just so much different equipment you can use, and you can like multiplayer, which was huge back in the day. So yeah, I mean, if you were on that train like back in the day, you were eating good. As far as my number two, I this was a tough one for me because I'm eyeing three games, between Donkey Kong Country 2, Pokemon, and Legend of Dragoon. But it's definitely going to be, I think, Legend of Dragoon for me for my number two.
All right, so that's 3 votes for Diablo. We're going to kick it up to Great Ball. Oh, I grabbed Paper Mario. Never mind. I did put it up there. Okay, good. So we got Diablo 2 up there. That moves 6 up to Great Ball. What's our next one?
Oh boy, this is getting tough.
I think, so who went first last time? Steve?
Yeah.
All right, Dan, that's you.
All right, well, out of these 6 games, I want to say the most fun that I've had playing out of these 6 is it's probably Paper Mario. It's just that game is just so well done. Like the story was decent. Like the mechanics of the game is just so great. Like every battle's fun. You never feel like you're just slogging through every. Like I said, like the battle is so intuitive that like you like the battle system. It's not like a chore to like just press A all the time. You gotta like dodge. You gotta like press A or whatever to like enhance your attacks. And there's many ways to do that too. And every enemy has like their own attack animations and timing, so it's like you're always on your toes. It's a very well done game. So that's gonna be my number one. And as far as number two, I think I'm gonna go with Final Fantasy Tactics. I love the story. I'm not like a huge like tactics guy, but like the story is just phenomenal in that game, and I really enjoyed playing all the way through that game as well.
Steve?
So it is no surprise that Paper Mario is one of my favorite games of all time. I can't not sing its,
He's at a
there are
loss
no
for
words.
words. He's at a loss
It's
for words. It's so
just
good.
one of those games it is timeless, and anybody that hasn't played it because of its gimmick, you need to play this game. That's my number one. My number two is just a guilty pick. I think that the replayability and the amount of time that I've spent on it warrants it moving up, because I would go back and play it again even today. Is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Just so much fun. Like,
fair enough.
There's just something simple and fun and exciting about it. You can't get enough Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
It's a very good game. You guys can watch me screw up the gameplay if you go back and watch that episode. So I'm not going to pick my own game. I'm going to fight fair, and it doesn't matter anyway. But my first pick would probably be Super Mario 3. That's a game I can play again and again. It doesn't take me that long to beat it. I know I will play it again eventually when the want strikes me. And if you haven't played Super Mario Bros. 3, and you ask me what game you should play this year, I'm probably going to yell at you and tell you Super Mario Bros. 3.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And then my second pick is probably Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Barely edging out Final Fantasy Tactics, I think. Just barely. Because multiplayer's fun. But it sounds like Paper Mario's got it from you guys.
Yep.
All right. So there it is. But let's get to Suikoden. So Suikoden 2 is, huge game, really ambitious, a lot going on. You can spend hours and hours and hours in it, more hours than I spent in it. Do we feel like this is Ultra Ball list worthy?
I mean, I don't know. It's just like the story is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know. I don't think that alone can carry it, for me at least, to Ultra Ball. At least not right now. Because I'm looking at it, I think it's great ball material, so I think that's where I would throw it. But like, I'm already eyeing a game that would go up before that, so I'm just gonna throw it in great ball for now.
I think I would probably place it in Pokeball for now. I do expect that it will make it up to Great Ball, but I'm with Dan in the idea that I think there's maybe one game that could be in Great Ball first.
Yeah.
So if this was a tier list, I would be placing it in between Donkey Kong and Legend of Dragoon.
So that's
In
a
the
Pokeball for
Pokeball
you
tier.
too. Okay. All right.
Alrighty,
let's do
so
it.
Pokeball it goes for now.
The one game that I'm referring to that I think moves up instead is Donkey Kong Country 2 for me. If I were to pick a second, it probably would be Suikoden 2, just barely over Legend of Dragoon.
Exactly the same for me.
Okay.
But if you had to pick a third, Steve, which one would it be?
Legend of Dragoon.
I think my first would be Legend of Dragoon, and then no way, I would go Suikoden first, and then Legend of Dragoon.
So I voted Donkey Kong. Steve voted Donkey Kong. That's 2 for Donkey Kong. You both voted Legend of Dragoon. That's 2 for Legend of Dragoon, and that's 2 for Suikoden. All right, so we each have to pick one game out of those 3.
Well, 2 of us had Donkey Kong as number 1.
Yeah, but it was your vote.
Yeah.
I didn't know that mattered now.
I'm trying to be a little bit fair. And
Okay, well, out of those 3,
for the content,
if I can't pick my own, it's going to be Suikoden 2. I think it's better than Legend of Dragoon by a little bit.
Same.
you feel Suikoden 2 is better than Donkey Kong Country, Dan?
Yeah, I just, as the years go on, I don't know. I loved platformers back in the day, like when I was a kid, but I don't know. It's just like I'm like shying away from them more and more, I feel like. Not that I won't play a good platformer, don't get me wrong. It's just it's not like my go-to anymore.
I'm like back into platformers just because they're such a quick hit and I don't have to pay attention to them. Well, I do, but it's a different kind of paying attention.
The investment is lower.
Yeah. Well, I would put Donkey Kong on mine, but do we all agree it's fair to put the Suikoden up?
Yeah, either or. I mean, I would be fine with either. I think they both are deserving of Great Ball.
All right, well, we know it's not Legend of Dragoon. Okay, so Steve's vote counts now between Donkey Kong Country and Suikoden. Go ahead, Steve.
I mean, I have more fun playing Donkey Kong, but I do really like Suikoden's story. This is now a difference in, like, what's the I can't think of the word, but like it's now just a difference in between do you like the gameplay or you like the story of video games more.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have any traditional RPGs up in Great Ball, just saying. We have the tactical RPG. It's not exactly the same.
No, but we got Paper Mario, which is just, it's a traditional RPG with action commands.
Oh, that's an Ultra Ball now, boy.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, he's looking at Pokeball tier with binoculars. That's how far away it is.
Y'all look like ants from up here. Well, if one of you guys wants to tell me, I'm perfectly fine with either of these games going up.
I mean, for me, it's gonna be Suikoden 2. I enjoy that type of game more, like RPGs in general.
Yeah, it's fine to move Suikoden 2 up.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how devastated are you, Steve?
11.
All right, there you go. Donkey Kong Country 2 is moving up to Great Ball tier.
Wait, I'm devastated too.
Yeah,
too late.
You are. Yeah,
I was devastated first.
Your meta pick is so low on the list. And now we have to move on up to Ultra Ball. So I think it's my turn to go first.
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right, so I'm gonna go with Street Fighter Third Strike or Super Mario Bros. 3. Oh, sorry. You know what? I'm gonna change that. Street Fighter. Oh man, this is really hard.
Yeah, it gets harder the higher you go
really
up.
Hard. Like those top 5 games should all move up. I feel like, but they might. Man.
Yeah, it almost feels like you're doing one dirty, but like they're all good.
All right, so Super Mario Bros. 3 has to be my number 1 pick, just because it's so good and everybody can play it and should play it. And then just because I had so much fun playing Third Strike, and I still think it's very playable and is still played at FightCon as a staple. So therefore, I can recommend it in 2025. It's got to be Third Strike. So those are my 2.
Yep. And then go ahead, Steve.
So my 2 earlier were Paper Mario and Tony Hawk. And Tony Hawk is a guilty pick, but that's the one that I want to pick for my number 1, just because it's the two most timeless games here are probably Third Strike and Mario 3, but Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 had a bigger impact on me than both of those games, so I'm putting that as number 1. And I think for my number 2, it's probably going to be FF Tactics. I think that game, I'm so glad that we got to go back or I got to go back and play it, because it was always on my bucket list. And the depth that game offers, and the vast world and the character building and the just ability to customize your characters in such great detail, is such a great boon. It's the customizability in that game is insanely good. So for its depth, I think Tactics would be my second pick.
Yeah, I'm the same as Steve, but opposite. So my first would be Final Fantasy Tactics. It's just a really, really great game. You know, Steve pretty much hit all the notes, what I would say about it. And then, second pick would be Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. I played it a bunch as a kid. I had a lot of fun. A lot of iconic musics that we listened to in the late 90s, early 2000s. And just I remember playing it and hearing all those songs again. It just brought back, all the nostalgia I had with the game. So, yeah, just a good game.
All right, so I feel that so it's a 1 and a 2 for Final Fantasy Tactics and a 1 and a 2 for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. So those are tied. So I think the three of us should pick between those two games. So it's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater for Steve and Final Fantasy Tactics for Dan?
Yeah, I would think so.
All right. I think I'm going to pick Tactics over Pro Skater.
That's fair.
All right. So Tactics moving up. And there we have it. Yeah. So that's our current league standings. Things are really heating up. We've only got 7 games left to enter into the league before we get to that voting period. Just a couple of announcements before we wrap up. We are not going to have an episode next week, which is on the 14th. We've just got too much going on in real life with schedules and vacations and all that stuff. We just can't shake loose one of those off week episodes for you. And then the following week on the 18th, we're running into some scheduled issues there. However, we are going to have Dan pick us a game to play and talk about that will not be a league entry, unfortunately, but it will be a good time, and we're all going to play it together.
We're going to have to decide if it was better than Rocket Knight Adventures.
Yeah, we got this mini side league going.
Mini league.
Yeah. The juniors.
What do they call it? Little League.
Yeah.
What is it, Dan?
Okay. That's trying to leave you guys in suspense here.
Oh, well, say something.
All right. So the game that we're going to play is Superman 64. I'm just kidding.
Dirty scum.
No, I'm just kidding. So I know I was ragging on, platformers a bit ago, but this is near and dear to my heart. And I will always be able to play, these type of games because I just love them. But I think we're going to play the original Mega Man X for the SNES.
I can dig it.
There you guys go.
I was thinking to myself, we need to play an X game this year. I've been trying not to specifically play an X game. So there we have it. Play along with us. If you have any thoughts at all about Mega Man X, comments, stories, reviews, whatever, send them into the Cable Club Podcast at gmail.com or talk about them in the Discord. We'll get your thoughts on it in our show next time, or play along with us. It's even better.
Yeah, Mega Man X will be in the Discord on the Gaming Couch, I'm sure.
I think all three of us are going to have to get in there at some point and hoot and holler at each other like we always used to about how bad each other are playing Mega Man X.
Oh, we should.
Oh boy,
race it. I think Steve, you and I are in trouble because Dan was ranked at one point. So
yeah, but that doesn't mean we can't learn. Come on now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
give yourself some credit.
Well, to be fair, Steve, when we were doing that X Collection speed run, he actually beat one of my scores, so Steve can hold his own for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I was ranked number 1 in the world on one of the fights too. So just so you know, done.
Oh wait, hold on, I got to do the outro. Before we say game over, I want to say thank you to all of our listeners, especially those over in Discord. You guys are our favorite. We get to spend time with you all the time. Some of you in real life, but at least over Discord constantly throughout the week. Our theme music is written by Cubby, unbeknownst, of course, but we paid to be able to use it. So thank you, Cubby, if you're listening. And if you like our theme music, you'll probably like the rest of his music. Check out his Bandcamp in the link in the description below. And we're a self-edited podcast here. Dan does most of the editing. I've been doing it lately. You can probably tell because I screw up small things. But, you know, we're self-made talent over here. So all that stuff. All right, fellas, game over?
Game over.
Game over.